Something else I want to add to go with my last video. You've been in the tribulation a long time. It's happened over a span of time. It's just that a lot of it has already happened. It's not like it says it's all going to be right after, one after the other. Did anybody ever think it was really going to work like that? But I think when you see a mushroom cloud of vinyl hydrochloride go up, like that mushroom cloud in Ohio, and they had to evacuate, and there was hardly much mention on the news of it, then you should realize how much your media keeps from you, and two, that something's going on if you didn't realize it. And now there's in Arizona a couple of semi trucks that have overturned with nitric acid, and some of that stuff may be just scare tactics. I don't think the one in Ohio is, though. There's been enough people that have done some videos with the dead fish, and I mean, I watched Mike DeWine the day it happened, the day they evacuated everyone. I didn't see him today, but I believe, because I believe in God, that God's removing every layer of trust so that you will rely on Him. And there's a ton of people that won't, which is why I say they would be terrified. Because when you realize you don't know who you can trust, or there's no one there to tell you, what are you going to do? Like, if there's a blackout, you have no way of getting information, what are you going to rely on? That's why Jesus Christ said He had to go away to send the helper. It's that Holy Spirit in you that will direct you. It's a direct, you can't get any better than that GPS. But it doesn't operate if you don't turn it on. And you don't turn it on with vibrations and frequency and all this. That was all stuff that was designed to keep you from just talking to God. Because there's some things God's just not going to respond to. Especially if it's not. That stuff's not in His Word. No matter how much they try to wrap it around that, it's not. And there's some people that say that stuff because they want to deliberately get you on the wrong road. And there's some people that they just don't know any better. When I said that God used Trump, it's not saying He knew it. I don't know that I don't think you really ever know when God is using you, but God uses people all the time. Most especially when I don't know, some of it just comes out of the blue, but not necessarily. It's not like Trump had a strong faith. I mean, he has strong faith, but I think it became much stronger when he went into office. I think he recognized that one of the biggest things missing, in order to have patriotism, you have to believe in God, really. Don't you ever notice the people that are the least patriotic are usually atheists? They just don't, because they're people that don't care about anything. Or what they do care about is stuff that's boring and stupid. Just say it. You know, your psychopaths, like some of your psychopaths in every different kinds of professions, they may act like they're patriotic, but at the end of the day, are they really? I mean, think about it. What have you learned the most in the past few years is that there's so many Americans that don't even likely know what patriotism is. They could care less about the national anthem. They could care less about how God was totally part of the Constitution of America, and He's just been left behind. So I think that maybe Trump recognized some of that. I mean, I never thought about it, but it came to me in the last few months that just like I don't believe you have a moral compass if you're an atheist. I don't care what people say. You're just not. There's no reason to have one. You'll just justify why you have poor behavior. But when you believe in God, you're gonna adhere to what He asks you to. I've always noticed that who are the people that are really big patriots? Your gun lovers, Your gun lovers and people that believe in God, the biblical God. That's why the left has always called us a bunch of names, right? So many different names for, gun-wielding lovers, all this. I mean, but ultimately it's like, but those were the things that God knew would keep, you can't, if you don't love your country, how can you save it? Especially since there's so many people that they're too busy in their phones to care about. How many people right now would care if they heard on the news a nuclear bomb went off in California or something like that? Do you think there'd be a lot of people that would care? Or would they be like, I'm too busy? Because how bad does it have to get for people to be like, I mean, I guess COVID woke everybody up, right? But that was because everybody was made to stay home from work. So people saw all of that take place in COVID and didn't see the truth of it. So many just blindly believed. And that was really when most of us, or at least the people that I've talked to here and there on social media, that's when a lot of us woke up to all of it. Because it's so blatantly obvious. And yet I look back on that and be like, how can this not be blatantly obvious to so many? It's like, I don't know. Never stopping to think like maybe you shouldn't trust the science, you shouldn't trust the news. And I mean, I know Trump has said it's not all the media, but I think it's really hard to tell who at this, especially at this point, because in my view, God is kind of removing all those layers. I'm not saying they're all bad people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that maybe they just don't know better. I don't know. Maybe some of them don't know better. I think many that have been there long term are likely corrupted, and they just do whatever they have to for their paycheck. But I think there's some that try to do the right thing and they're silenced. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that God, in order for God to get the people, I mentioned how God, he's raising a people. So what has he been doing? He's trying to get people to recognize all the problems. And the problems aren't what the science says. It's not what the World Economic Forum says. The problem is that when you kick God to the dirt and say you don't believe, enough people do that, then you start losing protections on this country. You start losing freedoms. You start getting leaders like Clinton's, Obama's, Bush's, because God is stopped protecting a little bit. Again, a covenant is a promise. If you want to be somebody who's not a psychopath, psychopaths make promises all the time. They'll say whatever they have to get what they want. But they're the most disloyal worms on the planet. I mean, they have no loyalty at all. That's like one of the biggest things you need to have. And so one of the biggest loyalties you need to have is, in order to love this country, you have to respect the Constitution. And that Constitution was written under a promise with God, that we would hold up our end of the bargain, no matter what all of those misguided and loony, crazy professors say. If you have enough of a nation that turns its back on the biblical God, then that's how you start losing freedoms, and that wicked side knows it. So we've been in a tribulation for a long time. I said in 2009, I had that experience where it was like a shutter going up and then slamming down. It startled me. And it was like after that, for like a month, I had this deep mourning of the loss of humanity. And something changed in people. And I've been thinking about that for the past couple days. And I wonder if it's just that people, even many to this day, really, they're just still asleep. They think, even the ones that think they're awake, they're not truly awake yet. Because it's like something came over everybody then. Call me crazy if you want, but look at where our world is right now. Can anybody save us but God? I don't think so.